Hello, student. Welcome to today's class. First, let me share the screen and share my PowerPoint. Let me share the screen. Okay, okay. 1 second. Okay, okay. So, 1 second. Sorry. Okay. So for today's topic, it is Python loops for beginners. So we're going to learn for and while loops with live coding. Tonight's topic is loops. So first, just we are going to see how they can help us repeat tasks easily. Students, for today's class, first I'm going to give you basic concepts and give you ideas how for while loop works. And definitely we will go to the jump to the live code, and I will give a demo to show how those code work. Yeah, but first I have to give you basic idea about the loops. Introduction. So first, it's what are loops? So loops let your code repeat actions automatically and avoid writing repetitive code. Think about it, students. If you have to print number 100 times, you have two options. One option, you manually write the code, print number 100 times. There are going to be a 100-line code. And the other option is you only write print out number 1, but use loops to let this print out execute 100 times. So now you can tell why loops matter. Because loop definitely saves time. One option, you manually input, you have to input 100-line codes. And for loops, you only need to input a 1-line code, print number 1, and of course need to add the loop, but it saves a lot of time. And next would reduce its errors. If there are 100-line code, you have to be careful of syntax errors. Yeah. The third is loop can work with lists, strings, and more. So it can be widely used. Of course, now let's start to talk about loop. First, let's talk about the while loop. So the while loop, what is while loop? While loop is a while condition and a code block. This is the syntax. So its flowchart is first we check this condition. If we check this while condition, if this condition is true, we'll execute this code block. And after we execute this block, we go back to while condition again. And if condition is still true, we execute this block again. And then we check this while condition again. But if this while condition becomes false, and then this loop will end. So we'll exist this loop. We finish this loop. So here example, it's a while counter less than 5, print count every time increment 1. Okay. So let's go to this example. Okay. So this is example. The initial value we give count is equal to number 1. So we check this condition. It's count less than 5? Yes. So we print out the count, and then we increment count by number 1. So the first time it is 0, and then the second, after we printed out 0, the count will increment by number 1. This time count equals to 1. And after we finish count equal to 1, we back to while condition. And the count equal to 1, 1 is still less than 5. So we print the count, and the count increment by number 1. Then this time count equals to number 2. 1 plus 1 is 2. Code 2 back to while count. And 2 less than 5. So it's still true. So we keep print out the count and increment count by number 1 until the count becomes number 4. While count equal to less than 4, so we still print out number 4. And this time the count will increment by number 1, count equals to 5. And then back to this while condition, count is equal to 5. 5 is not less than 5. So this condition is false. So this loop totally ends. Yeah. Let me give you a demo. Copy this code. Okay, so this is yeah, this is online Python. We run the Python here. Let me click the run button. See, we totally print out from 0 to 4. But why 5 will not print? Because this is the condition. This condition is false, so it will not print number 5. So because this condition is false, so this while loop else will not execute anything inside this loop. Okay. Let's move to the next. The next is kind of called a while with user input. It's also a fun loop. Let's try this loop. Let me make a copy of this code. C. Okay. Okay. So let me run this loop. So input first, it's a blank string, it's nothing there. So of course, this is not equal to exit. So run this user input tells me to input something here. So I put a yes, for example. Press enter. Because the yes is not equal to exit, so it will go back to run this line inside this loop again. So I will print a number. Like, oh, no, still wrong, because no, still not equal to exist. This condition keeps true. If condition is true, it will run this, execute the code inside the loop. But if we type exit, yeah, now it becomes false because z equals to exist. So this condition becomes false. So we end this loop. Okay. The next loop is a for loop. So the for loop is a for variable in sequence and the code block start, loop, execute, and end. It's easy for me to explain to you by run the code, give you an example. Now let's move to the next slide. This is the code. Let me run this code under Python. Okay, it's a for loop example. Okay. So this time we see for I in range 5. So this 0, 1, 2, 4 will be print out. So every time we print out hello, 0, and then we move to the next one, next I. After 0, the next one is number 1. After number 1, that is number 2, until we reach the final item. Final one is number 4. So it will print from 0 to 0 to 4. Every time print hello, I is changing until it reaches the end. Number 4. Yeah, this is iterating lists. It's an array. Yeah, we talked about array before. Okay, let me run this code. Run. You see apple, banana, and cherry all print out. We for fruits. So just the first item, the next item until the last item. So every time we print out, we iterate the list array. After we iterate the list, now we're iterating strings. Let's do this. Okay, so Python is a string. So every time okay, let's go move up. It's a PYTHON. Yeah, so every time we get one character, first time we get a character P, and print out the character P, and then move to the character Y, and we print out the letter Y until we reach the final letter. That's the letter N. Okay. So we print out the P until N. Python, yeah. It's iterating strings. Okay. So before I move forward, any questions? Okay. Sounds like we don't have any questions. 1 second. Okay, I want to make sure I'm still recording. Okay. So for this is nested loop. Okay. So you can tell we have one for loop and also we have another for loop. So this for loop is inside this for loop. So how does it work? Let's give you a demo. Here, draw this one. We click run. Okay, so now let me explain to you about this code. It's a very fun code. Okay. Okay, so of course, this every time we print I and print J. So for this loop, we start with the external, the outer loop. The outer loop will be from 1 to 3. So first, we pick number 1. After number 1 is confirmed, we move to the internal group, inside group. Okay, so this time I is equal to number 1, and then just J will be ranged from 1 to 3. Okay, so J, we are going to print out the J and 1. J and I and J. So this for the first round, we run I equal to 1, I equal to 1, J equal to 1, J equal to 2. So I is not changed, but J, we print out J number 1 and J number 2. Okay, and after we finish this loop, when I equal to number 1, now we go back to the external loop. Go to this loop again. This time I moved from 1 to number 2. And then we execute this loop again. This time I equal to number 2. And we execute this loop, we still print out J. J will print J equal to 1, J equal to 2, but this time I is equal to number 2. And after we finish I equal to number 2, we back to the external condition for outer condition for loop. From I've changed from 2 to 3. So this time I is 3. And let's go. I is 3. And then we print out the J is equal to 1, J is equal to 2 because we run this loop. And this loop, J is changing, but number 3, I equals number 3 is not changed. And we finish this internal loop and we back. So you can tell this nested loop is like we start from the external loop, the outer loop, and we get the value, get the variable from external loop, and then we just hold that value. The value is not changed, and then we run whatever needs to be done. So it's like this time before, just like for here, we just print like number 1. Okay, but this time we use this for loop instead of number 1. So before we do print number 1, and this time we run this for loop. Yeah. After we confirm the first I, we run this regardless. We run this loop just like we run if we only have one line code. Just we print number 1. Okay, and after it's finished, and then we back to here, and then we make change, this value I value, and then just like we run this code again. This is called a nested loop, but this part, even though it's a loop, you can treat it, the logic is still the same. Just the workflow is still the same as you print out the number 1 here, but this time you use here. This blocks for loop instead of a block of code, just a block of code. Yeah, block code like print number 1. Before like print number 1, now just like you run this for loop. And this I will never, the value of I will be held. And until they finish whatever is inside, and then move to the next, and then whatever, and then move next one, and then do whatever is inside, and move to the next one. Yeah. So it's called a nested loop. Any questions? Okay, now next one is called break. Let me show you how break works. On this loop, okay. This time, when number equal to 5, break means we stop. Okay, we end this loop, regardless if this condition, the next condition is still true or not. Okay, so when the number equal to 5, this will break. Okay, so it just number from 0 and until number 4. If it's not to 5, we'll continue. Okay, first, when number is 0, 0 is not equal to 5, so we'll not execute the break. We'll run this print. Okay, and then just the number become number 1. 1 if it is 1 equal to 5, 1 is not equal to 5, so not equal to execute break. We will print number 1 until the number num becomes 5, and then this time the 5 is true, and we run the break. We finish the end. So you can tell why the number 5 is not print out here. Okay, make sense? Okay. Let me, for instance, okay, if we get rid of this one. Let's see what's going to print out. Okay, if we get rid of this condition and break, it will print from number 0 to 5 to 9, 0 to 9. But after I add this back, for instance, if I put it to 6, it will only print 0 to 5, because when it's 6, it will execute a break. Break means and we out of this loop, regardless. Okay, so the next is about common mistakes of loops. This first is like infinite loops. Because students, so for every time we design loops, you need to confirm 3 things. Okay, the initial value, okay, the exact condition, and how this variable is going to be changed. Okay. The problem of this loop is count equal to 0, while count less than 5, we print out the count. The problem is because the count is not changed, so this condition will be true forever. So you will keep printing the count equal to 0, keep printing count 0, and it will never end. Because count never change, count is always 0, this 0 is always less than 5, and this condition is always true. That's why this part will be executed forever. Okay, so this is very important for you to keep in mind. Yeah, you need to consider under which condition this loop will end, and you will also set up how the variable and how this condition will be met. This is important. The next is called a wrong indentation. A lot of people make such mistakes because of careless. Even though just like they understand this concept, no wrong indentation, but they made mistakes. Okay, so let me give an example to see what's the difference. Okay. I click wrong. Okay. It is a normal loop. Okay, we're putting from 0 to number 2. Okay. You see here it's nothing inside this loop. You can even get a syntax error. But if you use space, yeah, so you need to make sure you have indentation from between the 4, this is the beginning of 4. You have indentation from here to here. Okay. They cannot be the same line. You mean the 4 and the print, if 4, print inside the for loop, it cannot be the same line as 4. Yeah, again, let me show it to you again. If you over here, the same line, no indentation, you have an error because there's nothing inside this for loop. But if you be like this, you're wrong. You're totally correct because it's 4. Just like this print I is inside this for loop. Why? Because it has indentation from here to here. Because the letter 4 is start from here. Okay. Yeah. So just tips for loops that are plan loops conditions carefully. Test with small examples first, and use break if you need to get rid of the loop. Yeah. Um, yeah. So the for loop is iterate over a sequence. The while loop is repeat while condition is true. It's my recap of this class. And use loops to save time and avoid errors. Yeah. Um, yeah, in summary, use for loops to iterate over sequence and while loops to repeat actions as long as condition is true. Loops help you save time and errors, especially when working with a lot of data or repetitive tasks. So that's how loops help you. Okay. Okay, students, let me stop sharing. That's pretty much today's class. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. If you have questions, I'm going to end the class right now. But even if you have any questions like after class, feel free to send me an email and I will answer your questions. Yeah. We can schedule, the phone call, just even do the Zoom meeting. Yeah, I know it may not be easy for you, but take your time to try to understand everything. I appreciate it for your hard work. Thank you.